I give you thanks, God, that I am not like the rest of men, grasping, unjust, adulterous, or even like this tax gatherer. I fast twice weekly. I tithe all that I possess. Oh God, be merciful to me, a sinner. Which prayer ascended into heaven. Let's not kid ourselves. We might be in the first category. There are sins of the pious, you know. There are some who imagine that they are in category A because they go to a traditional mass. That kind of mentality exists also amongst our Protestant brethren. I was brought up a Baptist and I was influenced strongly by the evangelicals, born again. And for quite a while, I thought that only I, and those like me, was a Christian. We used the word Christian to mean one of those. Therefore, Catholics have no hope. It's the same sin. But there is a subtle form of it coming in now, which we need to be aware of. It's the presumption that has come in with regard to telling God what he has a right to say and do. We have had recently, it seems, not a few situations where people known to be in a strange situation with regard to their church life are forcing their way to the altar and making it known that they have a right like any other. Now let's see what's going on there. Such people are in this category. The tax gatherer is not. He recognizes that he has no rights. Now, this is not new. It's been in church life for quite a while. It's just it's got worse. Some centuries ago, it was the time when Christians really did not go to Holy Communion often and settled quite often for the minimum, which was Easter. There was this person, he was actually a knight, and he had made, it seems, his confession and was ready for his Easter communion, which he was going to do on Maundy Thursday. He came into the church where this good priest was celebrating quietly and approached the altar. However, he thought that he was in category A. He was a knight, a nobleman, not like the common people around, and he deserved special attention and treatment. And the special attention and treatment that he wanted was to receive the large host, not that of the others. And he elbowed his way to the altar and made it understood to the priest that he would settle for nothing else, or else. And the priest actually did not know what to do because he was being aggressed. He was about to yield to his wishes when suddenly someone else made known his wish on the matter. And the ground under the feet of the knight gave way. The ground yielded. He went down. He was going down. And he was going down. And suddenly he realized what was happening, grasped the altar and pleaded for mercy. And only at that point did the ground stop going down. However, it can be seen to this day, the big hole next to the altar where this proud knight thought he had rights. That is obvious, but there are others more subtle. Is it true or not true that many in our time secretly, subtly think and want to think that they are in category A? They want to be seen, and there is an itch to be seen, and they will be seen. They will be seen when there's no need for them to be seen, in the sanctuary, at Holy Communion, doing what the priest is consecrated to do. I think you know what I mean. Even going to the tabernacle, which is not allowed to anyone who is not at least a deacon. They will be seen also wanting to be at the ambo and staying there. They will be seen in other places too, and I know of not a few cases where the priest is told what he must do and not do. There are very powerful potentates in our sacristies sometimes, usually but not always female. It's the same thing. Category A, power, control. Subtle, but the same problem. But there are others too in our conversations and in our daily dealings which are there. 1. Power by getting attention. An easy way to get attention is to talk, and to keep talking, and to keep talking, in such a way that conversation follows what we want. Is it not true that people don't hear themselves after a while? They don't pick up the vibes. Sir or madam, you are a heavyweight, and you're the only one not to know it. Over-talking is a big problem in our life, and we might be guilty of it too, not knowing when to stop. There are others. Wanting attention by boasting subtly, accidentally letting out things which are glorious to ourselves. Now, when a person is flattered, if he's in any way polite, he'll start to protest. Actually, it's more humble to recognize graciously that there is a gift for which another is responsible. Our Lady was the humblest of all, but magnified the one who gave genuine gifts. To want to, in some way, be noticed all the time, actually in church life, as well as in professions and the sports field and the school and the theatre and the television and the pop world, is all more of the same thing. How great I am. It's the same sin. And if we're honest, even from school days upwards, we're guilty of it. And so I want to propose this little man who didn't even look up to heaven as your model in prayer. Why? He's the only one who got it right, because he knew what he was and what he was not. And when we get to our truth, a lot changes. 1. At last we become free. Free from illusion, which leads to problems. The thing that messes us up is that we think we have power also over God, over time, over the future. The poor man who lives in his truth receives the future as God gives it. It's a different ball game, and he is at peace because he has no power at all. Remember, my daughter, said the Lord to St. Catherine of Siena, that you are she who is not, and I am he who is. Now, in prayer, we see things precisely with that truth which is the light of God. Gazing at the Blessed Sacrament, what happens? He teaches us by giving us to understand his thought on the matter. You may have heard of Don Stefano Gobbi, who was actually the founder of the Marian Movement of Priests. They're trying now to introduce his cause. For a long while, he's dead now of course, but Our Lady instructed him and was gathering an army of faithful priests around her, insisting on certain truths: the Rosary, Marian devotion, and devotion to the Blessed Sacrament. But this hit me this week as a key. You don't have to believe this, but it was a word that he is purported to have received in 1973. Forget everything else. This is except for one thing: prayer. And form the habit of using nothing but this weapon. That, by the way, is a remedy for those who are into activism. All kinds of wondrous ways of getting souls, all humans. With Cure Ars, that's what getting souls meant. A victim. The crucial times have come, and there is no longer any time for certain vain and superfluous things. There is no more time for useless discussions. How much of that goes on among pious Christians? It goes on now in the blogosphere. These hours spent on YouTubes and websites, which could be spent with Jesus. There is no more time for chatter. How much chatter goes on amongst the pious? Chatter and projects. Our projects, of course. This is the time for prayer. Take one word with you from this homily: simplify. Keep it simple, for the time is short. Let Jesus be Lord. Use the means that he's given us. And this week, I invite you to be aware of one means that you have. It's what was given to St. Francis of Assisi. He wanted something from the Lord. The Lord gave to understand he was asking for a lot, but he gave it. It was the indulgence, the Portiuncula indulgence, which eventually was sealed by Honorius III. Initially, it's for that church, then for all Franciscan churches, and then also now for any parish church, of which this is one, between midday on the 1st of August and midnight on the 2nd, under the usual conditions. Confession, I'd suggest 8 days before, if you possibly can, at least in the state of grace, receiving Holy Communion on the day itself, visiting all those churches, praying for the Holy Father's intentions. When in the church, one also prays one Our Father and one Creed. These are treasures which the church gives us, and it would be a form of spiritual pride to say, come.